channel. I do hope you're having a good day and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be doing something a little bit different and I thought I'd let you in on sort of the process that I went through to get Will Scarlett International Airport, which is sort of my main airport on my channel really. I haven't done an A&L International Airport update in a while, so this has sort of become a little bit more centre stage. And as you can see, it's had a bit of a revamp since you've last seen it. I think the last time you did see this was I did a sort of storm airport update where it had thunder, it had lightning, it had all sorts of sound effects. And that was a really cool video to do. I really enjoyed, the creative challenge of getting the lighting to work. But after filming that and looking back at the footage, I did sort of feel like the airport it stayed the same for a really long time. And to be honest, it wasn't particularly visually interesting. I'll put up some pictures up here, just so that I can remind you how it used to look. And yeah, it's had quite the change. So as you can see, the main addition that I've done is I've added this hill over here, and all of this grass, all of this foliage. Obviously, I've changed the layout of sort of the cargo and freight area over here a little bit. And so today we're really going to be talking through it and seeing how I did that, and we're going to be talking about an alternative to using sort of the traditional method, I suppose, with model airport grass. Because what you'd normally do, you've got a roll of grass mat, you buy it and then you cut it out into size and then you stick it down with PVA or whatever. But I'm going to be borrowing a technique from another hobby which I'm also very into, which is model railways. And this is called static grass. Lots of thin green, I'd imagine it's sort of polymer strands as blades of grass. And basically the process, instead of having the roll, you have this and you basically sprinkle it over the top of any of the sections you want grass on. And in order to do that, you use one of these. Now this is called a static grass applicator. It's a really useful piece of kit. And basically what it does is it electrolyzes and sort of creates the static energy which then goes into the grass. So you store the grass in the top section here and then you sprinkle it over the top of wherever you're going to be doing, and it's got a battery in it and a power button, and basically this lead that goes down here, it connects to this metal gauze at the end, and then this gauze basically it picks up the current and it statically charges the grass as it falls out, and it creates this sort of quite nice, almost sort of spongy, more realistic looking grass. So we're going to be talking through that process a little bit, going through it in a little bit more detail. I've got lots of video and photos from when I was doing this over the last couple of days, so let's get into it. Right, so to build this scenic hill then, we are going to be starting off with sort of a frame of this cardboard. Now it's fairly thin. I'd recommend probably going a little bit thinner than that, but this is the only sort of piece of cardboard I could find for the demonstration. And what I'm basically going to do is first off decide sort of how high I want this hill to be. So obviously being 1:400 scale, sort of any sort of significant gradient would just look fairly unnatural, and I am going for quite a natural look here. So I've gone, I think, about sort of 2 centimeters above from the surface of the baseboard there. And basically what I'm doing is I've got these sheets of cardboard and I'm just cutting out sort of these cross-sectional frames that go all the way across, and that's basically gonna define the gradient of the hill. And then at the end area here, I'm then altering those shapes so that it merges out onto the taxiway. By the way, instead of using PVA for this frame, I'm actually using a hot glue gun. 2 reasons for this. I do find it sort of has sort of like a thicker delivery of glue, which is nice. It sort of it makes it more secure, and being hot glue, it also dries a lot quicker. Sort of within 10 or 20 seconds or so. And I do find that useful because it's just important that, you don't want to be waiting hours between doing each one of these. So you can bang them all out in 20 minutes or so. And basically, really, it's just making sure that they're lined up, they all fit in the space. And I had quite an idea of, I had quite a clear idea of the space I had here, obviously, because I've got 2 taxiways around. So yeah, those are the sort of cross-sectional beams, I suppose. Now it's time to think about these sort of cross pieces. So I needed some support to go all the way along the back, and there are also some ridges running all the way across here. And what that basically does is it helps the plaster, which we'll get onto later, it helps the plaster sort of stick with the gradient between where the two things are. So you might be able to see over here, you can sort of just about tell where the two sort of supports are going down, and in the middle it sags ever so slightly. So in order to try and sort that out, I have attempted to sort of put some longitudinal beams across to sort of help support the structure. The last time I did this was about 6 months ago for a model railway project, so it has been a little while. So this attempt isn't perfect, but it was certainly an interesting thing to do, and I am quite happy with the result. So there we go, the cross-sectional pieces there are in, and now really it's time to get on to the plaster. So this is a roll of plaster of Paris. You might have heard about this before. And basically what it is it's a roll of sort of netty fabric, which has ingrained in it this plaster, and all you have to do is get it wet. I'm dipping it in sort of 2-3 centimeters worth of water here, and I'm just getting it wet, making sure there isn't any like excess water on it. You don't want beads of water, but yeah, I'm just making sure that it's not nicely damp through, and then sort of spreading it across the length of this frame structure. And what that's doing is it's building up layers, and eventually, as you can see, now it's all dry, that's all going to dry off, and you're going to be left with sort of the sculpture of the hill. And what I did next, you don't have to do this, but as I mentioned in the beginning, I do like to add sort of a little coat of this brown paint. It's a nice touch, you know, it just saves if you do end up having these sorts of discrepancies here in the corner. It might help it look a little bit more natural, I suppose. It's something I was messing around with, and I've never sort of put that brown paint underneath before, but it turned out alright. I'm quite happy with it. So here I am painting that black on, and at this point I'm also sort of doing the paint for the outline of where I want all of this section to be over here as well. So yeah, the brown paint's on there, I'm quite happy with that, and now it's really time to move on to the static grassing. So I'm using two varieties of static grass here. The first one I showed at the beginning, it's this stuff. It's pretty good. This is 2mm, so this is sort of really the smallest or the shortest length of grass that you can get. Static grass, as I said before, is usually designed for model railways, and that's about 1:76. So I went much smaller than that, and they would, you know, and it's really, in terms of scale, it's a little bit too long. But in order to add some variety, I've also been using some of this stuff. This is almost sort of heathland sort of thing. So I've been mixing these two in the pot of the static grass applicator, painting the glue, painting quite a generous layer of PVA. I am using this stuff from Amazon. It was dirt cheap. I bought this probably best part of 2 years ago. Probably when I was originally building Will Scarlett International, actually. Yeah, it's gone on forever. It's 2.5 litre bottle, and I've just sort of been chipping away at it. And I've been applying quite thick layers, as you can see here. What I wanted to make sure is, in previous attempts of doing this static grass, I have found if you don't put enough glue on, quite a lot of this stuff just sheds and it comes off and it doesn't look very good. And you really only have one shot to do this, because once you've applied the grass, if you then try to put another layer of glue over the top, it just sort of ends up looking messy and really not very nice. So yeah, I'm applying a sort of fairly liberal amount of glue there, and then basically I'm making my way around sort of applying the static grass. You know, you can see it's going everywhere. I'm using quite a lot of it, again, just to make sure that I get quite good even distribution. But yeah, it's a fairly time-consuming process. What I would recommend doing is putting down a sort of dust sheet underneath it. I didn't have any dust sheet, so what I used in this shot, you can see I basically dissected some bin liners and made them out into sort of flat sheets of plastic. So then when I'm done, it will all sort of stay inside the plastic sheet, and there won't be any problems there with spilling, because I have had that in the past, just having static grass go everywhere on the floor, and it's not happy, especially when you face your parents about the state the carpet's in. So yeah, that's another one of the things that sort of you need to consider if you are going to do this. It does tend to shed a little bit. In my experience, it sheds less than a grass mat, actually. You know, these model airports that I've been using, because they're on boards, they're less permanent. they do move around a little bit. Sometimes I'm filming in my bedroom. Obviously now I'm filming down here in the garage, but it's still a consideration. If you are going to be moving your model airport around a lot, it is something to consider, because you know this stuff does come off. So as you can see here, I can't remember if I got any footage of this, so I'll describe what I'm doing. Basically, I've put a sock over the end of the vacuum cleaner now. So this PVA is all dry, and I've put a sock over the end of the vacuum cleaner. And what I'm doing is I'm basically sucking up the excess static grass, and I'm basically going through that, and it's getting trapped in the sock, and then I can sort of recycle some of that static grass for later. You know, because it can be potentially quite a wasteful process, and the static grass that ends up on the baseboard and not on your sort of scenic area, that could potentially end up getting wasted. So to avoid that, I've come up with this little system of saving that unused static grass for later. So yeah, and that's pretty much it really. I mean, after that I've added some more sort of scenic elements here. So this sort of stuff, this is sort of foliage from a model railway shop. It's just sort of this sort of thick, sort of fairly floofy, kind of a little bit darker stuff, which basically I've just sealed down with what is this. So this is, I think it's actually used for Airfix models and that sort of thing, but I found it works quite well to sort of stick these sort of little tufts in place, and I like doing that because it adds a little bit of texture, and it breaks it up and has sort of like a different colour green as well. So yeah, and that's really pretty much it. I mean, it's a fairly simple process. Obviously the other consideration with this is price. I think up front it is still cheaper to use a grass mat, definitely, which is why I sort of always used grass mats. But having used this process, I think I'm sold on it really. And yeah, and that's sort of it. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. There's certainly things to be sort of improved upon in the future. I would quite like to sort of actually do some scenic work over there as well. As you can see, that's sort of still quite a flat area of the airport, so maybe I'll do another mini hill or sort of add some more 3 dimensions over there. But yeah, let me know what you think. I am going to be doing a Will Scarlett update soon because I have so many new models to show you, as you can see here. I do actually have now 2 Flybe Q400s. This is the Gemini Jets one, which the review is going to be coming out in the next month or so. And this used to be an Air Canada one. If you're sort of a veteran of the channel and you've been watching for a while, you will recognise the Air Canada one, and that's now been turned into a Flybe aircraft. And this is actually being filmed on the very sad day where Flybe has announced that they've gone into administration again. So just after I finally managed to get my hands on 3 Flybe models, they're all rendered pretty much realistically useless. But no, I'm going to carry on operating them. Will Scarlett is probably going to be the main airport going forward, I'd imagine. The main problem has been actually that, you know, I need sort of this space for A&L International. I need that for my workbench, and in order to do these sorts of projects at Will Scarlett, I do sort of have to compromise some of that space, and you know, it's all dirty and I'm using it for filming and everything. And it doesn't really work having a model airport and a workbench sort of on the same space. So I'm going to be doing this for now. I've got all sorts of new things coming up, some GSE here. I've also got another project which I'm excited to sort of reveal. So yeah, but that's pretty much it for now. I will see you very, very soon. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in sort of prices, I will compile a price list of everything that you would need to get started with using static grass. I'll put that in the link in the description. If you are interested, I think it's a really, it's an interesting idea, and at the end of the day you need to decide what you think is going to work better for your airports. But that's about it for now. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Happy New Year, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!